final score. Memphis 42, West Virginia 37 in the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl. So that's it. 4 straight bowl wins for your University of Memphis Tigers. They finished the season 11-2, and given that they were ranked right now 25th in the AP poll, it is reasonable to assume they will finish in the AP poll after not starting the season in the AP poll. Bennett, let me frame it this way. I know I framed it another way before, but what if I frame it this way? University of Memphis football program was unranked in the AP poll to start the season. Now the entire season is over for the University of Memphis football program. And as long as AP voters don't do anything goofy, the Tigers are going to remain in the AP poll. They're 25th right now. They could stay there or move up, but they should be in the AP poll, the final version. So if a team doesn't start in the AP poll but finishes in the AP poll, is that not overachieving on some level? Bennett, argue.
I mean, I don't want to argue because I was very happy with it, and no, I mean, I do think that's in a sense overachieving. Yes, you start the season unranked, finish the season ranked. Yeah, I mean, how else could you qualify that? It was cool last night, man. That was a lot of fun. Ryan got his coffee bath. I was hoping for that. He's undefeated in bowl games. Like, I know that some of them have been, against inferior opponents, whatever. But he's undefeated in bowl games. Seth Hennigan goes out with a bang. Like, he finishes his career first in passing yards, first in passing touchdowns, first in pass completions. So he broke a lot of records in his time at Memphis. I obviously wish he could have gotten a conference championship. I know he wishes that. I know his coach wishes that. But overall, I'm feeling positive heading into this offseason. And frankly, I'm feeling positive about Ryan, just to be completely honest. I mean, again, undefeated in bowl games. And, I think these back-to-back against Big 12 opponents, I think it's very important for Memphis football to stay consistently good these next couple years. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. And with conference realignment being where it is now, and we expect that I'm sure more dominoes will fall over the next year or two, Memphis needs to be in a good place in football, and they are there right now. And I think he's the right guy for that job right now. He's doing a good job recruiting. So I was pleased with how the season went. It's kind of funny how it, you get those losses to Navy and to UTSA like early on and in the middle of the season, and obviously you're down after that. But I think the way that they finished should be commended. So I was happy with everything yesterday.
21-5 over the past 2 seasons, with 3 victories over Power 5 schools in less than a calendar year, including 2 bowl wins over Big 12 programs. When you frame it like that, it sounds really good.
It does.
This is one of those things, I'm just telling you.
And framing's important. You know that. In conference realignment, framing is one of the most important things.
If you told me right now to make a compelling argument that Ryan Silverfield is the greatest group of 5 coach in the country, I could do it convincingly, right? Mm-hmm. But if you told me right now, okay, then counter-argue your own point and make me understand why Memphis fans should still be disappointed, I could do that too. Mm-hmm. I could do both of those things very easily. They're not hard to do. And that's why this is a complicated thing to talk about, because it is the type of thing that I promise you, unless you're a Memphis football fan or somebody who really lives and dies with Memphis sports, you look at this and go, what are they upset about again? Mm. They just went 11-2. They're going to be ranked in the top 25, and they just won a bowl game over a Big 12 school. What are they mad about in Memphis again? So they're 21-5 over the past 2 years. They just had a 4-year starting quarterback, same dude. That never happens anymore.
Yeah.
So they have consistency at the most important position. Their coach has never lost a bowl game. He just won 11 games for the second time in program history. He's 21-5 the past 2 years. And in the past calendar year, he's beaten 3 Power 4 programs, including 2 Big 12 teams in bowl games. What?
Yeah, and
they should be fighting to keep that guy, not wondering why he's still the coach. But you dig a little deeper, and you can understand where the source of frustration is.
Yeah, I mean, and the simple answer is, well, they've never competed for a conference championship in a crappy league. I mean, that's the simple answer.
Right. Yeah. You want to do? Okay, that's great. GP, 21-5 past 2 years. How many games did they really win that they weren't supposed to win? All right. Now tell me, how many games did they lose that they weren't supposed to lose? All right. Those bowl wins, those are great. But you want me to be excited about victories over Florida Atlantic, Utah State, and a West Virginia team that had an interim coach? I mean, I guess the Iowa State one was pretty good.
That was
we'll take that. But the other ones, like, what does that really mean? And, oh, by the way, when you're predicted to finish first in the AAC and you don't even make the AAC title game, I don't need to know anything else. You've underachieved. You've disappointed me. Like, that's compelling, too. I could argue this either way, and I could make you believe me either way. And that's why I don't strongly believe either thing. Because I can make compelling arguments in either direction. This season has been a disappointment relative to preseason expectations, but only in one very important, and I would argue the most important aspect, the conference championship aspect. You didn't even get to play in the game. That means you failed. All right? But you weren't supposed to be a top 25 team, and you are going to finish the season as one. Like, that's not nothing. As I tweeted last night, that's not nothing. It's not what you wanted. It's not perfect. It's not nothing. And so the question then becomes, well, then how do you ever, if this ain't good enough, how do you ever do good enough? Because the margin for error is obviously very small. Do you know how hard it is? Because on one hand, people go, well, you're in a league where you're the best team. You should just win all these games. And I get it. But, like, in sports, it's not easy to do something without ever messing up, regardless of how good you are at it or how well you're supposed to do this thing. My favorite example of this, because this is what you would tell Ryan Silverfield when he's sitting there and sipping a cup of coffee going, I went 21-5 the past 2 years, 11-2 this season, have beaten 3 Power 4 programs in the past calendar year, and people still are upset. What you would tell Ryan is, well, the reason is because you've got the best NIL situation in your league. That means you're supposed to win your league. Remember when John Calipari was supposed to win Conference USA every year, and if he didn't, it was a failure? Well, that's kind of where you're at now. It's not quite that dramatic, but you're running. You should have the best program in your league. You've got the most resources in your league, and so when you don't even get to play in your conference championship game, you've fallen short. And you know what he would say? But GP, I hear you. Name me all the football teams this year that didn't lose a game they weren't supposed to lose. Do you know how hard that is to do?
Yeah, it's true. It's fair.
Like, good. Congratulations, Oregon. You did it. But just about every team in the college football playoff lost games they weren't supposed to lose. Tennessee did it. Ohio State did it. You go look yourself. You know how hard it is to never lose a game you're not supposed to lose. So I get it. That's the standard you want to hold me to. I get it. But that's a hard standard. I guess I got to do better. And he's acknowledged that. And whether he's doing it with his tongue in his cheek or not, with a wink or not, I don't really care. He's acknowledged it. That's good enough for me. He has said multiple times over the past week, I'm proud of what we've done, but I understand it's not enough. He said that. And I don't know that he genuinely believes it as much as his detractors genuinely believe it, but I can appreciate him at least acknowledging it and not fighting it as much as another guy might. All right. You gotta, when you're picked to win a league, you need to compete for league championships. By definition, they didn't do that this season. That's a problem. But here's the thing I always go back to, because this is the best way it's ever been illustrated to me. And it's a little bit apples to oranges, but I do think it illustrates a point. You look at Memphis's AAC schedule, and you know, they did win at Florida State when they were an underdog, win at Tulane when they were an underdog, but then they gave that back with the 2 losses when they were favorites, and that's how you end up not even playing in your conference championship game. Honestly, they just lost the wrong games. That's what happened.
Yeah.
And so you say, okay, that's fine, but if you'd have just won the games you were supposed to win, this could have all turned out differently. And so what you're asking them to do then, really, is in a 13-game schedule, I believe they were favored in 11 of these games. And they ended up winning 11 games. They just didn't win the right ones. But what they needed to do clearly is if you were going to win 2 games that you weren't supposed to win and still try to get where you wanted to go, you needed to then lose fewer games that you weren't supposed to lose. So you needed to not lose the Navy, the San Antonio thing, right? So that means you needed to just keep beating the teams without exception that you were supposed to beat. Sounds easy. It's much harder over a course of a season than you think it is. And the best way to illustrate this that anybody's ever put it to me is Steph Curry at the free throw line. Think about it in these terms. Forget football for a second, but think of Memphis football as Steph Curry stepping to the free throw line. Memphis football going through the AAC schedule is Steph Curry stepping to the free throw line. Every time you've ever seen Steph Curry step to the free throw line, Bennett, what do you think is about to happen?
He's going to make a free throw.
What do you think should happen? Like statistically, what should happen?
He's going to make a free throw.
Like if you had a stack of $100 bills and they said, Bennett, we could sit here all day. Steph is going to shoot free throws all day. After every one, he's going to get a new ball, and then I'm going to look at you and I'm going to say, put your $100 down.
Mm-hmm.
Is he going to make this or not make this? Every time, what are you going to say?
He's going to make it.
Okay. You know what the truth is? He's going to miss about 1 out of every 10 of them.
Mm-hmm.
He just is. It won't mean that he sucks or that it just means that this is the way this type of stuff works. Even when you're supposed to do something right, succeed at it every time, you're still not going to do it. Almost nobody does. Congratulations to Oregon. They did it. But almost nobody does that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Almost nobody can just not mess up. Even Steph Curry, if you give him 10 balls, he's going to miss 1 of the 10. That's what his lifelong free throw percentages show, more or less. The greatest shooter who has ever lived is still going to slip up every once in a while. So if you can recognize, and this would be the point, that it is totally reasonable, even expected, for Steph Curry to miss 1 out of every 10 free throws, why can't you apply that same logic to Ryan Silverfield and say, hey, even if he's supposed to win 10 of these games, same way Steph Curry going to miss a free throw every once in a while, he's going to miss one of these every once in a while. Mm-hmm. That's the way sports works. Can you subscribe to that? Or shut up and just get to the championship game?
I mean, listen, I still think that he needs to do that. But like I said previously, they're in a good spot. They're in a good spot right now, and that's what I want for Memphis football right now. I mean, again, I want to get the hell out of the AAC. That is my priority number 1 as a Memphis fan, and being in a good spot in football, which they are right now, that's going to be the way to do it, or one of the ways to do it. So, yeah, I still, again, he needs to compete for a conference championship. Sure. He does. Like he's got a tons of great resources. Obviously, with the NIL money that they have to spread around. So yeah, you got to be able to do that. And it sounds like he's at. Listen, he's talking to the. We saw the report that he's talking to the transfer from UNLV, the transfer quarterback. So he's out there working, and hopefully he's able to have another really good team next season.
I'm not telling any Memphis fan not to be disappointed after being picked to win the AAC and not even playing in the AAC title game. I understand the disappointment. If you've listened to this show throughout the season, I've expressed the same disappointment. But it's okay to acknowledge it could be worse, way worse. This is a program that is historically never supposed to even sniff top 25 stuff.
Right.
And they're going to finish the season in the top 25. This is a program that only once before it ever won 11 games. And I know a lot of it is because of the schedule, but still, facts are facts. They just went 11-2. This is a program that didn't even go to a bowl game for like a million years throughout my childhood. Now they just win every bowl game they go to. You know? Yeah. It's in a better place. You could reasonably argue, outside of the tip top of the Mike Norvell era, it is in a better place, or as good of a place this program is, as it's been in a long, long time, perhaps ever. And even if it did fall short of expectations in some regards this season, a lot of good stuff did also happen this season. And the last thing was among them, a victory over another Big 12 program in a bowl game that resulted in a coffee bath